Thank you, Johnny. Hi, folks, and welcome.
This is Jeopardy!
Welcome to Jeopardy, everyone.
This is Jeopardy! Please welcome today's contestant. Player one. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek.
Thank you, Johnny. Hi, everyone. You look eager to get underway, so let's get right into it. And we have one daily double awaiting you in these categories. World Geography, Out of This World. What's the word? Party. TV shows that bombed, and Roman art. Player one, you're in command of the board as we continue right now. Melbourne is in the Australian state named for this woman, a friend of Viscount Melbourne. Here's what we wanted. Victoria. Player one, you pick again, please. You can enter this European city via the Puerta de Bisagra and its U.S. namesake via exit 64 on the Ohio Turnpike. Here's the response we were looking for. Toledo. You get to pick again, player one. Paulistas live in a large city in this large South American country. We're talking about Brazil. Choose again, player one. This country's Grand Canal ends at the port of Hangzhou. Here's the correct response. China. Player one, back to you. It's Africa's highest mount that shares its name with a country. The correct response is Mount Kenya. Player one, pick again. The gravitational pull of this object is the main force holding the solar system together. Yes, player one. Use the Wii remote or press the corresponding direction. That's it. Select again. Galileo was the first person to see the rings around this planet. It's player one. Yeah. That's correct. Please pick again, player one. Not the first, but this second planet is the hottest because its atmosphere causes a severe greenhouse effect. Okay, player one. Right. We return to you, player one. The comet named for him was last seen in the skies in 1986 and won't return until 2061. Player one? Yes. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Like Pluto, Haumea and Makemake are designated as this kind of planet. It's player one. That is correct. Select again. On a snail, an omatophore is a stalk with this at the end. Player one? Woo! Yeah, good. Player one, you pick again, please. If you set some Chinese punk on fire, it's because Chinese punk is this, from the Latin for set on fire. Here's the correct response. Incense. You get to pick again, player one. Here's Kelly with the clue.
When light passes through a prism, it splits into its various colors, the visible one of these.
Yes, player one. Good. You again, player one. It's the medium on which you're traveling if you're in a hoy. We're talking about water. Player one, back to you. If you've got quinsy, also known as tonsillitis, you've got swelling in this part of your body. Let's hear it, player one. That's correct. Player one, pick again. Paper gifts are the traditional gifts at the party for this anniversary of a married couple. Here's what we were looking for. The first. We return to you, player one. The British passed 1774's Intolerable Acts to punish Massachusetts for a party in its harbor. Okay, player one. Good. Please pick again, player one. It's the beverage that would be most appropriate at the wild, riotous bacchanalia we've got planned. Here's what we wanted. Wine. Choose again, player one. Oktoberfest is a 16-day party held every year in this Bavarian city. Let's hear it, player one. Ooh, sorry. That's incorrect. Here's the correct response. Munich. Player one, back to you for our next selection. In Mexico, a quinceañera is a girl's coming-of-age party on this birthday. The correct response is her 15th. We return to you, player one. In a 2007 episode of this series, a terrorist detonated a low-yield suitcase nuke in Valencia, California. Here's the response we were looking for. 24. You again, player one. All right, here with the clue is Kelly.
In an episode of this classic 60s series, bookworm Henry Bemis survives a nuclear war and finds a library, but then breaks his glasses.
Here's the correct response. The Twilight Zone. Player one, you pick again, please. This series, Peter Petrelli had visions that he would cause a nuclear holocaust in New York City. The correct response is Heroes. Player one, back to you for our next selection. In a 1977 episode of this sitcom, Detective Diedrich notes that a student's physics project is a functional nuke. Here's the correct response. Barney Miller. Player one, back to you. Answer, it's the Daily Double. You are in the lead right now. You need to select your wager. Answer this. The nuclear blast that caused chaos in Jericho, Kansas was detonated in this state capital to the west. No. Oh. Here's the response we were looking for. Denver. Select again. And I'll hand it off to Kelly.
This giant amphitheater was one of the great achievements of Roman art.
Yes, player one. Woo! Right you are. Please pick again, player one. Carved in Rome, the Pietà is the only work signed by this sculptor. We're talking about Michelangelo. Player one, pick again. In Rome's Cerasi Chapel is Caravaggio's painting of the conversion of this saint. Okay, player one. Yep. You get to pick again, player one. A fresco by Raphael shows Pope Leo I pleading with this ruthless barbarian to spare Rome. Here's the correct response. Attila. Let's have a look at the $1,000 clue. Legend has it that Mark Antony's wife stabbed this orator's tongue after his death. Here's what we wanted. Cicero. The Double Jeopardy round will begin right after this. Categories for the Double Jeopardy round are Scary Words, Book Titles, The Scintillating 1700s, Flowers, Movie Folk, and Get Positive. Let's get back into this now. You have control of the board. Bibliophobia, a fear of these, might hurt you if you want to continue your studies. Player one? Yes. Choose again, player one. If you suffer from heliophobia, a fear of this, you might be a vampire. It's player one. That's right. Way to go. Player one, back to you for our next selection. If you have pluviophobia, the fear of this weather condition, we probably won't find you singing in it. Yes, player one. Yeah. Right. Please pick again, player one. If you've got dendrophobia, a fear of these, we suggest not climbing any. Player one? Yes. Choose again, player one. If you have stygiophobia, derived from the river Styx, you have a fear of this, so act right. Here's what we were looking for. Hell. You get to pick again, player one. Hemingway got the title for this 1926 novel from Ecclesiastes. We're talking about The Sun Also Rises. We return to you, player one. Dickens, let's see. Martin Sweetledew? No. Martin Sweetleback? No, I've got it. Martin this. Here's what we wanted. Chuzzlewit. Select again. Answer. The first of the daily doubles. You are currently in the lead. What are you going to wager? Okay, here is the clue. Shakespeare's Sonnet 30 says, I summon up this, which became the title of a Proust work. No, that's not right. Here's the correct response. Remembrance of Things Past. Player one, pick again. Faulkner was using Dark House as a novel title, but there was something about the light in this month. Here's the correct response. August. You again, player one. James Jones considered Old Soldiers Never Die as a title for his World War II novel, but settled on this from a Kipling line. The correct response is From Here to Eternity. Player one, you pick again, please. The future King George II lost his marbles over Henrietta Howard and gave her Marble Hill House on this river. Here's what we were looking for. The Thames. Player one, back to you. A famous one of these, Marie Camargo, is remembered for shortening her skirts to calf length. Here's the response we were looking for. A ballerina. Choose again, player one. In 1752, suave seducer Sergei Saltykov spiced up the life of this future empress. Here's the correct response. Catherine the Great. Player one, pick again. Born into a family of actors, he was expelled from a seminary, big surprise, before finding fame as a lusty libertine. Here's the correct response. Giovanni Casanova. You get to pick again, player one. Let's go to the Clue Crew for this next clue.
An engraving of this 18th century French monarch, America's most powerful ally during the Revolution, hangs at Mount Vernon.
Okay, player one. No, that's not right. Here's what we were looking for. Louis XVI. You again, player one. This country isn't out of kilter with the thistle as its national flower. We're talking about Scotland. Player one, back to you. On March 22, 1994, the Dutch ambassador to the United States gave her a new tulip named for her? Here's the response we were looking for. Hillary Rodham Clinton. Please pick again, player one. Singularly speaking, the bright blue cornflower is known as this button. The correct response is the bachelor button. Select again. Also called galanthus, it's among the earliest garden flowers to blossom in spring. Here's what we wanted. The snowdrop. Player one, you pick again, please. Answer, the second daily double. And you're in the lead now. How much? Answer, bloom forms of this large hardy perennial include spoon, quill, and pompon. Nope. We're talking about the chrysanthemum. We return to you, player one. Rejected by USC Film School, this S in DreamWorks SKG now sits on the film school's board of counselors. Let's hear it, player one. Correct. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Jerry Maguire was originally written for Tom, not Cruise, but him. It's player one. That is correct. Please pick again, player one. He majored in journalism at Fordham before playing a newspaper reporter in The Pelican Brief. Here's the correct response. Denzel Washington. Player one, back to you. This actor got his name by giving his mom a fetal kick while she viewed a Da Vinci work. Here's what we were looking for. Leonardo DiCaprio. You again, player one. To get orc war screams for The Lord of the Rings, this director put phonetic yells on a scoreboard for 25,000 cricket fans. Let's hear it, player one. Sorry, that's wrong. Here's the response we were looking for. Peter Jackson. Player one, back to you for our next selection. The book Whale Done applies the positive techniques used at this marine park to business and family life. Yes, player one. Yeah. You are correct. You get to pick again, player one. Thriving through stress, like him conducting Ode to Joy while ill, is the idea in a book called The Hymn Factor. The correct response is Ludwig van Beethoven. Player one, pick again. His power of positive thinking begins, believe in yourself, have faith in your abilities. Here's what we wanted. Norman Vincent Peale. Choose again, player one. An illustrated book pairs Alexander Calder's artwork with the lyrics to his song, Don't Worry, Be Happy. Here's the correct response. Bobby McFerrin. And the $2,000 clue? Oprah has unlocked The This, a book by Rhonda Byrne about using positive visualization. Here's the response we were looking for. Secret. Looks like you'll be moving on to Final Jeopardy after this commercial break. Here's today's Final Jeopardy category. Economics. Please enter your wager. Each direction on the plus control pad represents a different response. Press a direction to select an answer. Let's see what it is. Here's the clue. In 2007, this 18th century professor and writer became the first Scotsman to appear on an English banknote. What did you say? Sorry, that incorrect response will drop your score by Here's the correct response. Adam Smith.
Yeah.
You've come out ahead as our champion, player one. So long.
This is Jeopardy! Is today's player one. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek.
Thank you, Johnny Gilbert. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Good luck to you in the Jeopardy round. The categories for the Jeopardy round are unofficial state nicknames. This means war. Literature. Under the sea. Showbiz stuff. And intravenous. Player one, start us. Point the Wii remote at the screen and press the A button to select a clue. Seward's Icebox. It's player one. Use the Wii remote or press the corresponding direction on the plus control pad, and then press the A button. You got it. Player one, you pick again, please. The Switzerland of America and the highest state. Okay, player one. Right. We return to you, player one. The birthplace of 8 presidents. Player one.
Yeah!
Good for you. Select again. Kelly?
Though it's called the Star-Spangled Banner State, this is its flag.
Let's hear it, player one. Hey, you're right. Choose again, player one. The coal state and the birth state of the nation. Player one. You are correct. Player one, you pick again, please. During the Revolutionary War, volunteers ready to fight with 60 seconds' notice were called these. Yes, player one. Ah, good. Select again. In this U.S. war, it was the Yanks versus the Confederates. Okay, player one.
Yeah!
Good. Please pick again, player one.
Yeah!
It's the Daily Double. You are in first place. How much are you going to wager, player one? And the Daily Double clue. This future state declared its independence in 1836 during a war with Mexico. That's correct. We return to you, player one. Lasting from 1957 to this year, the Vietnam War is the longest in which the United States has taken part. It's player one.
Yeah.
Good. Player one, pick again. The 100 Years' War, 1337 to 1453, was fought between England and this country. Yes, player one. Correct. Player 1, back to you. The ban on this D.H. Lawrence book was lifted in 1959 in the United States. Let's hear it, Player 1.
Yeah!
Yep. You get to pick again, Player 1. Federico Garcia Lorca wrote a famous one of these for the death of a bullfighter. Okay, Player 1.
Yeah!
That's right. Way to go. Player 1, back to you for our next selection. Whitman's When Lilacs Last in the Dooryard Bloomed was an elegy to him. Player 1? That's correct. You again, Player 1. Polonius tells this character, "This above all, to thine own self be true." It's Player 1.
Yeah!
Good for you. Select again. This woman was the subject of Petrarch's Canzoniere. Let's hear it, Player 1. Right. Player 1, back to you for our next selection. We're flying past 10,000 feet on our way to this. The altitude will maintain en route, 35,000 feet. Okay, Player 1. That's not it. Here's what we wanted. Cruising. We return to you, Player 1. Let's get Kelly's assistance on this clue.
Ledger lines are for notes that don't fit on the 5-line staff, like this note that can be shown one line below the treble staff or one line above the bass staff.
We're talking about middle C. Player 1, back to you. The modern Hebrew and Arabic alphabets consist only of this type of letter. It's Player 1. That is correct. You get to pick again, Player 1. It's the South American national capital city that fits the category. Yes, Player 1. Correct. Player 1, pick again. Found in South Africa in 1905, this 3,106-carat diamond went to Amsterdam for cutting. Player 1? Right. You again, Player 1. Dialogue from this show. Women don't leave Denny Crane. And for a secretary? It was the Secretary of Defense. It's Player 1. That's it. Please pick again, Player 1. I'm glad I got the partying out of my system because now I can focus on my career, said this simple lifer. Let's hear it, Player 1. Hey, you're right. Choose again, Player 1. That's healthier, we guess. Ron Wood's wife gave this Stones guitarist 12 bottles of organic vodka. Yes, Player 1. Yes. Player 1, you pick again, please. Blind hermit Gene Hackman entertains man of few words Peter Boyle in this 1974 comedy. Okay, Player 1. Yes. Player 1, pick again. I've eaten things that didn't complain this much, says Diego the saber-toothed tiger in this 2002 animated film. Player 1? That is correct. Choose again, Player 1. Venus's surface is hard to view from Earth because it's completely covered by these. It's player one. Right you are. Player one, you pick again, please. One of these on Venus lasts about 244 Earth ones. Player one? Yes. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Like Mercury, Venus has this many moons. Okay, player one. You got it. Select again. We're not sure if it was ancient or not, but the first U.S. flyby of Venus was by one of these space probes in 1962. Yes, player one. Right. And here's the $1,000 clue. Galileo's finding that Venus goes through these, like the moon, was the first direct evidence for Copernican ideas. Let's hear it, player one. That is correct. The Double Jeopardy round will begin right after this. Clues are worth $400 to $2,000 in these categories: Asian history, graphic novels on film, inventors and inventions, the A's, make no mistake, and the southernmost nation. All right, if you're ready, it's Double Jeopardy time. In the 1920s, the Kemalists opposed the Sultan in this country and eventually prevailed. It's player one.
Yeah.
Yes. We return to you, player one. In December of 1946, he attacked the French at Tonkin, beginning a war that ended 8 years later. Player one? Ah, good. Player one, back to you. Answer. The first of the two daily doubles. You are in the lead right now. Please enter your wager. The clue. In 1739, the Peacock throne built for Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan was stolen by these people. Right. You get to pick again, player one. In 1782, when Chao Phraya Chakri became King Rama I, he moved his capital across the river to this city. Let's hear it, player one.
Yeah.
Correct. Please pick again, player one. Here's Kelly to start us off.
These nomadic horsemen, who overran most of Asia in the Middle Ages, lived in portable lattice tents known as yurts.
Yes, player one. That's correct. You again, player one. History diverges from this film, as the Spartans also had over 1,000 men from other Greek cities fighting at Thermopylae. Okay, player one. Good. Please pick again, player one. Johnny Depp is in England on the trail of this serial killer in the Alan Moore-inspired film From Hell. Yes, player one. Right. We return to you, player one. Tom Hanks takes his son on a violent mission of retribution against a gangster boss in this film. Player one?
Yeah.
That's right. Way to go. Choose again, player one. Sadly, 1994's The Crow, about a man who comes back from the dead, was the last for this star. Okay, player one. That is correct. You again, player one. Thora Birch and Scarlett Johansson are friends who move in together after high school in this spooky film. Let's hear it, player one. That's correct. Select again. Walter Deemer with the Fleer Company invented the first commercially successful type of this chewing gum in 1928. It's player one. Yep. Player one, back to you. In 1879, James A. Ritty invented this machine, and retailers have been ringing up sales ever since. Let's hear it, player one. You got it. You get to pick again, player one. In 1798, this cotton gin inventor began using a system of interchangeable parts to make muskets for the U.S. government. It's player one.
Yeah.
You are correct. Player one, you pick again, please. In 1938, chemist Roy Plunkett invented polytetrafluoroethylene, a non-stick substance better known as this. Okay, player one.
Yeah.
Good. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Martha Costin invented the Costin This, a device for signaling at sea in the 1850s. Player one. Correct. Player one, pick again. A liquid under pressure released through a nozzle as a spray or foam. Yes, player one.
Yeah.
Yes. You get to pick again, player one. A recess or nook for something like a bookcase. Player one. Hey, you're right. Please pick again, player one. Answer. The other day. Double. And you're in the lead now. Give us a wager, player. All right, here's your clue. To suspend a legal proceeding. Yes. Select again. From the Greek for slope, it's to adjust to a new set of conditions. Okay, player one.
Yeah.
Right you are. Player one, pick again. Let's take it over to Kelly.
In seismic data, the maximum displacement of a seismic wave during one oscillation, here 23 millimeters, is referred to by this term.
Yes, player one. No.
Oh.
Here's what we were looking for. The amplitude. Player one, back to you for our next selection. In Roman myth, Nenia, whose name means dirge, presided over these ceremonies. Let's hear it, player one.
Yeah.
Right. You again, player one. In Egyptian myth, the god Khnum made humans on a potter's wheel, using silt from this river? It's player one. That's it. Player one, back to you. In a Botticelli painting, Zephyrus, the west wind, is blowing this full-figured newborn to shore. Okay, player one. Good for you. Choose again, player one. This god of earthquakes called Rhea Mom and spent a lot of time in the water. Yes, player one. You are correct. We return to you, player one. In Wagner's Ring Cycle, this Norse god is known as Donner. Let's hear it, player one. That's correct. Player one, you pick again, please. India, Indonesia, Iran. Player one? Yep. Select again. Nepal, Nicaragua, Norway. It's player one. Good. Player one, back to you for our next selection. Syria, Suriname, Sweden. Player one? Yes. You again, player one. Portugal, Papua New Guinea, Pakistan. Yes, player one. Good. Now let's take a look at that $2,000 clue, shall we? Mongolia, Malta, Malawi. Let's hear it, player one. That's right, way to go. I'll see you for Final Jeopardy in just a moment. Consider your wagers carefully as you think on this category. Geometry? So, what's your wager? Press the corresponding direction on the plus control pad to select your response. And now the final clue. It's an ellipse with an eccentricity of 0. Did you come up with the correct response? How much do you add to your total with that correct response? This makes you our new champion, player one. So congratulations. We'll see you all next time.